3, 2, 1. Okay, ready to go. Okay, good morning from a hot and humid Dubai. I'm live in my residence from Sakim 3, which is a wonderful view of the Burj Al Arab. And good afternoon to those in Australia, which I'm sure you're enjoying some lovely wintry conditions. My name's Nick Humphrey. I'm a partner of international law firm Kennedy's, where I lead the Middle East aviation, transport and trade practice. And I'm also a board member of the Australian Business Council of Dubai, and that's the hat I'm wearing today. On behalf of the Australian Arab Chamber of Commerce and Industry, the Australian Business Council of Dubai, and Dubai FDI, and also our partners at Dubai South, Dubai Airport Free Zone, the Jebel Ali Free Zone, and Emirates Sky Cargo, I'm very humbled to be moderating what is the second of a series of 4 seminars as part of the Dubai Advantage series. Today we have some really incredibly distinguished keynote speakers and guests who are at the forefront of fostering bilateral relations between Australia and the UAE, which are such close friends. And as a resident of Dubai for 10 years, that friendship is very strong, having 3 children born here. And also those who are leading the UAE and Dubai's drive to be the global export and trading hub, and those facilitating companies which are looking to invest and take advantage of the amazing facilities that have been developed here. Now, today's webinar series is titled Logistics Opportunities in Dubai, Your Global Launchpad. Now, geographically, the UAE serves as a natural hub, and that is the reason why the UAE has 2 incredible international airlines, which serves as a hub to connect east to west and also the emerging markets of Africa, Central Asia now, and also across the GCC. Really, as part of what this logistics seminar will look at is how the UAE and Dubai in particular has developed some world-class infrastructure, facilities and free trade zones to take advantage of this geographical advantage, and how international companies continue to flock to the UAE to take advantage of this logistics hub. Now, it's I guess interesting, and it's one of those things that we can't shy away from. It's been challenging times, but the UAE logistics infrastructure has shown how resilient it has been over the last few months during this COVID crisis. There's images in Australia of supermarket shelves which are empty, particularly we won't touch on toilet paper, but the UAE has not had that issue. It is very resilient, it is fully stocked, and it's a reflection of how the logistics infrastructure has responded. And this has been supported by a recent study that was released by the Dubai Future Foundation last week. Now, turning to our first keynote speaker, and we're very privileged and honoured to have His Excellency Abdullah Al Sabusi, the Ambassador of the United Arab Emirates to Australia, to provide this morning's welcome address, or this afternoon for those who are in Australia. Turning over to you, Your Excellency.
Thank you so much, Nick. Distinguished participant, I'm honored to join this forum today. I would like to take this moment to reflect on a few points concerning our trade and logistic relationship with Australia. The impact of COVID-19 on logistics and the role of the UAE as an important international transition hub. The UAE considers Australia an important friend, an economic partner. We rely on each other. Australia agriculture supply chains have been critical for maintaining UAE food security. The UAE stands as Australia's largest and most important partner in the MENA region, with a value of non-oil two-way trade reaching over $4 billion, US dollars that is, in 2019. And the bilateral relations between the UAE and Australia are diverse and rapidly growing. This is underpinned by the ongoing high-level official visits, education, tourism, commercial partnerships. Our two countries also enjoy increased defense, aviation, security, and law enforcement cooperation. That said, as an ambassador, I am committed to securing an even stronger bilateral relationship between the UAE and Australia. Post-COVID-19 era, offering new opportunity across both private and government sectors. It is promising. There is promising new and innovative areas of cooperation, trade commitment, foreign direct investment, and most importantly, a long-lasting friendship developed between our people. I think returning to the importance of our topic today for the UAE, there is no doubt that the UAE rapid transformation over the past 40 years and transition into a diverse economy has been achieved by its adaptation of new technologies and capitalizing. I think somebody's.
I think somebody logged in twice.
I think somebody has his. Okay, is this better? Okay. So there is an echo. I think the importance of the UAE as an international hub demonstrates that resulted in the construction of the world's most renowned airports and established leading international aviation companies. This is most evident in Dubai International Airport, which was ranked as the busiest airport for international travelers in the world. Additionally, Abu Dhabi International Airport has also been an important point for facilitating international travel and cargo. In terms of international sea transportation, the UAE is home to the Middle East's largest seaport. These semi-automated ports are capable of implementing some of the most complex logistical solutions for freight transition and the ability to apply advanced technology for management of supply chains and warehousing at optimum efficiencies in terms of cost. The importance of logistics and supply chains to prosperity of the UAE and Australia has made it an urgent area of consideration, to be honest with you. Every day I see new cases that we could have done better handling. But I think it requires private and government working together to take obstacles between to facilitate the bilateral trade. And you know, according to Institute of Supply Management survey, nearly 75% of companies reported supply chain disruption in some capacity due to the coronavirus-related transportation restrictions. As for the UAE, the worst of the immediate disruption to our supply chains were mitigated successfully. The UAE decade-long investment in multi-model facilities and port infrastructure, as well as high inventory levels of consumer goods, paid off in terms of national resilience. For example, our supermarket shelves remained fully stocked throughout the worst of the pandemic. However, for someone who lived in Australia during the pandemic, I have to say that we are grateful not only to the doctors, to the nurses, the first responders, but to the Australian government, whether in the federal or the regional or locally. They've done a magnificent job managing the response to COVID-19 and ensuring the safety of the people. And now they are leading many countries in the world in the opening up the economy and helping facilitate trade. My hope is that this forum today provides further insights into the potential of logistics in post-COVID-19 world. COVID-19 has demonstrated the importance of reviewing risks and exploring opportunities for better cooperation and coordination between both governments and the private sector in our respective countries. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. And it's been a privilege to have you on today, and hope you survive the wintry conditions of Canberra.
Thank you.
Now, turning to, thank you. Turning to our next keynote address from His Excellency Fahad Al Ghagawi, the CEO of Dubai FDI, Department of Economic Development and Government of Dubai. Over to you, Your Excellency.
Good day, everyone, and good afternoon in Australia. Good morning to my fellow colleagues in Dubai, and Guy and Nick and humid Suqeim. Glad to be here for the second week, and part of our series with our Australian colleagues. Thanks from the beginning to all the people behind setting all this up, especially the Australian Chamber of Commerce, AACCI, and the Australian Arab Chamber of Commerce and the Australian Business Council in Dubai. And also a big thank you, and nice to see you again, to our lovely ambassador, Mr. Sabusi. His Excellency was a great supporter to us in previous years in our missions in US, which went very successful, and we're still seeing the outcome of that, and we're looking forward for more engagement with His Excellency in the coming years in Australia. Definitely, the Dubai team is eager to be in Australia right now with the cold weather, looking at where we are today. But at the same time, we're looking at an opportunity to develop more relations, as was this mentioned today just earlier with His Excellency, that there are tremendous opportunities need to be utilized. The relationship between the two countries is obviously one of the strongest in our region. With the trade growth that we have, I think that lies underneath it. There are many more opportunities. Australian cities are well connected to the UAE and Dubai, with almost 100 flights a week between the two countries. The UAE is a home to around 25,000 Australians, occupying also 350 different businesses that Australians are active in and owns and operate, including construction, financial, professional service, tourism, and education. UAE invested also in Australia in many different areas, especially in the agribusiness, tourism, healthcare sectors, and of course, real estate. The persistent focus on economic diversification is a vision to grow into a knowledge economy. And this is where UAE have focused in the last 10 years to develop such strategy, and have opened up a remarkable opportunity for ideas, enterprises, and people from all over the world. A unique feature of the economy is its openness, resilience, and which have seen the country maintaining growth on international outlook through global downturns and setbacks that we saw in many different years in the last 3 decades. Dubai, for example, has continued strengthening its advantages as the most efficient gateway for global trade that connects 2.4 billion consumer markets in the Middle East, Indian subcontinent, North and East Africa, and also the CIS countries. While every crisis has also an opportunity, we see that there are opportunities to really grasp here between the two countries, and we can test also an approach or have a new approach to launch new initiatives and enhance competitiveness. At the same time, looking while we're facing all this, at where are the niche opportunities that we could benefit our businesses. And when we look at the logistics, it is one of the strongest arms that Dubai and UAE has that made the difference for our overall economic performance throughout the years. Definitely, like all governments, UAE have launched its stimulus package, which was one of the largest in the GCC countries, as well as the all the other Emirates have their own facilitation and stimulus. But the unique part is also that our colleagues here from the successful free zones have taken also the initiatives themselves and started facilitating and looking at many different ways to facilitate and incentivize their customer base to make sure that they are reaching out to them, trying to give them the best possible service. And I'll leave the floor for them to really come back to explain. We just want to mention two things with regard to connectivity. UAE is blessed with being the third largest aviation hub in terms of overall capacity in Dubai airport, and the largest in international passenger. We talk only after Beijing and Atlanta airports, as well as the 9th largest port in the world. Two things that just sums up so many things that we would like to speak about, and of course my colleague will bring this into your attention. Just before closing, I would like to mention two things. One is the overall response we had from the world being in Dubai. 204 nationalities in Dubai lived in harmony, been responsible in this crisis, and showed their commitment towards being responsible residents, supported the government initiative, being there, trying to really, everyone trying to be part of the different initiatives that the government have put. So many volunteers we saw, not only the front respondent, but also from the residents themselves. So we have a really great community here trying to give and support different initiatives, especially in this difficult times. This is one part of the strength also that UAE plays. I think this is a unique one that we have in UAE and in Dubai. As we said, we have significant opportunities lying ahead of us to build a game-changing partnership and develop innovative solutions to enhance productivity and ensure that we could both benefit our business sectors. And I invite you to explore that with my colleagues here, and I'd like to say thank you to everyone participated in that, and I wish you a great afternoon. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Your Excellency, for your time. Now, moving on to Dubai Export's CEO, His Excellency Saad Al Awadi. Now, for those online, just to give a context of what Dubai Export does, Dubai Export is not just a supporter of UAE companies. What the UAE loves to do is support those who've invested in the UAE and how it can facilitate investment and export opportunities for those businesses. His Excellency will go through, I understand, some numbers on exports, and over to you, Your Excellency.
Thank you very much, Nick. Thank you. First of all, thanks for everybody, especially His Excellency Abdullah Sabusi, His Excellency Fahad Al-Gargawi, and the rest of the panelists today. And hope the attendees will get a brief of what we do here in Dubai to facilitate trade and exports, plus support supporting the manufacturing community. First of all, my name is Saad Al-Awad. I'm CEO of Dubai Exports. We at Dubai Exports represent the Trade Facilitating Authority in Government of Dubai, and the figures for the trade for the last few years were a little bit stagnant. 2016, 17, 18 is around 1.3 trillion dirhams, which is around 400 or a little bit less, 400 billion US dollar, and it's fluctuating between exports and re-exports. Sometimes exports increase and re-exports decrease, and so on. But in 2019, the figures developed and around 5.7% increased. So that showed, that the financial issues and the trade issues was a little bit relaxed and developed. But then 2020, the COVID-19 started. So what we did is that we changed our strategy and our plans. In Dubai and the UAE, we had 3 different committees with the Ministry of Economy and Ministry of Industry and Energy, then another team with Ministry of Economy, and the third team with the Ministry of Health. And each team were working on how we can overcome this situation and increase our trade. These teams are ongoing and are coming up with new strategies which were approved on the higher government level, and we are starting implementing. The point of what we can do for Australian companies is that we provide a list of services and facilities for every company want to use Dubai as a hub, or want to use Dubai as a market, or even only having an office or a license. So we provide all our services almost free of charge. Market intelligence, product studies. Our offices all around the world can provide all the information and the buyer's information, so on. Business matchmaking, B2B, participation in exhibitions and conferences, both locally and international. So we have a list of services, even some kind of assistance programs also, for any company available or existing in the free zone or outside the free zone. So everybody is in Dubai or the UAE. Not only that, as Mr. Fahad mentioned earlier, that FDI can also support new companies to come and establish in the UAE. So in a nutshell, Dubai facilities, the airport, the free zones, the ports, Dubai South, all these are facilitating for Dubai to be a hub for the region. That's in a nutshell my points, and I'm ready to answer any questions from the attendees or panelists. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your time, Your Excellency. I understand, and your prompt for questions is a good segue to provide some administrative oversight of today's webinar.
Okay.
We will be having the opportunity for some questions and answers towards the end of the webinar, and I am the moderator, so with that in mind, I can control what people ask and the answers. Now, the other thing is, and everyone who is an attendee will see there's a quick pop-up. Okay. There's going to be a few polls which are done throughout the webinar. It would be great if all the participants could answer the poll questions. And at the end of the webinar, there's also going to be an exit poll just on the on today's webinar series. And I understand, Your Excellency, and the other distinguished guests, there may well be follow-up questions and after this webinar series, and please direct those to either the organisers of this, and we will ensure to facilitate it to the right person, be it Dubai Exports, one of the free zones, or Dubai FDI. Now we're moving along to what we would describe as the technical part of the program, and some detailed presentations from 2 of the free zones and also one of the largest property developments and logistics hubs in Dubai South, and then Dubai FDI and Emirates Sky Cargo. Now, the first of those speakers will be Jamal bin Maghrib, who's the director of the Dubai Airport Free Zone Authority, also known in, if anyone works in logistics and aviation, we're a land of acronyms. It's known in Dubai as DABSA. So over to you, Jamal, for your presentation.
Thank you, Nick. Good morning, everybody, and good afternoon in Australia. It's really exciting to have this seminar and this time of pandemic. But I think the world should not stop by, stopping by any pandemics happen. I'm excited to present those things. We'll start with a short video, and from there we'll take it to a short presentation.
We use time. We buy time. We chase it. We shape and measure it. Because time shifts. It races. It flies. It runs in seconds and minutes, in lifetimes, and in centuries. Because we know that this essential commodity is critical to individuals and business strategies, molding fortunes and destinies and history. This businessman is known as an inveterate trader and a veteran of futures. He is a man who measures everything from money, rewards, profit, to even risk. But above all, he scrutinizes time, analyzing the impact of its effectiveness. He arrives in the heart of Dubai looking to expand in a new territory, to grow a new business. He discovers the epicenter of commerce, the crossroads of 3 continents in a market with access to a 1.8 billion population. He needs a place to grow and a place to harness the unlocked power of time. Dubai Airport Free Zone is strategically positioned to do just this, close to the Dubai International Airport, with more than 150 airlines connecting over 220 destinations across 6 continents. There is easy access to logistics and cargo handling facilities for all import and export needs. Dubai Airport Free Zone rents light industrial units that can be utilized as warehouses for storage, distribution, assembly, and even light production. Creativity, dedication, entrepreneurship, ingenuity, and technical innovation have all come together in a state-of-the-art business park, offering world-class infrastructure and professional facilities. over 200 multinationals and close to 100 Fortune 500 companies from various sectors have established themselves in a distinguished community. This esteemed cluster of companies allows for the expansion and exploration of new business opportunities within a vibrant and growing economic ecosystem. This free zone also promises excellent investment incentives and tax exemptions. Dubai Airport Free Zone is a gateway to government departments and customs. Clients can customize their work environment with the finest interiors. Dubai Airport Free Zone provides clients a one-stop shop, embracing all setup and administration services. For a man who is a master of efficiency and who upholds rigorous standards of excellence, being in the right place will give him the critical advantage and the freedom to achieve his goals. Because to be at Dubai Airport Free Zone is to be in one of the top free zones in the world, where he is free to grow.
So as you have seen the short video of DAVZA, DAVZA is simplified by three things I would say we have as a pillar in our organization. First one is we care about the investor time because he's flying from overseas. For example, if Australian investor coming to Dubai Airport Free Zone, we care the value of his time. Time is essential for him. Everything goes by timing. He cannot stay for long, a month to register a company. So we have created something called one-stop shop. That's one thing. And then we care about his growth in Dubai. From Dubai, he should grow to MENA region. From MENA region goes to Africa or to Europe. And that's where our colleagues in EDC, Dubai Export Corporation, comes in the picture. We connect him to those organizations that can help him. Next slide, please. Like I said, time is essential for the investors. And you can see in the top, it's one-stop shop. So when the investor comes to Dubai Airport Free Zone, we don't let him run around. We try to do everything for him in one-stop shop. We do the immigration and medical for him. Government offices, we do have it in Dubai Airport Free Zone as an office. Custom office is there. Dubai Chamber office is there. Dubai Police is there. Dubai Health Authority is there for his work permit, health checkup. And all the administrative services like security, housekeeping, during the building maintenance, or during the time he's present in DAVZA. And also the other services that support his business, such as the banks, post office, telecommunication companies is circled in DAVZA. The customs is 24-hour services in Dubai Airport Free Zone, as we have the air cargo movement in DAVZA. So in a nutshell, basically, the client should not run around and should be having all the services in one place. Now, DAVZA is a host of different variety of sectors of industries. As you can see, we have 28% of ICT companies raised in DAVZA, 10% of consumer products of companies in DAVZA, 8% of DAVZA companies out of the 1,600 is logistic and freight, airspace, 9% investment and business development, engineering and building materials, 7% in the food and beverage sectors, and 5% in the medical equipment. And we expecting the 5% of medical it will raise because of the pandemic. A lot of companies we have noticed that they're really aggressive to come to this market with the medical equipment and other related products. Next, please. DAVZA is a home to a lot of companies and a lot of industries. I would say we have a different companies who take advantage of this platform as in DAVZA. As you can see, there are Boeing, Airbus, Rolls-Royce in the aerospace aviation, telecommunication, Thales is there, F&B, Heinz, Hershey's, Yokorto from Japan, automobiles, Audi is there, Toyota is there, Kawasaki is there, and they are just some of the companies, logos and presence in DAVZA. But I'm sure there are a lot of companies that is present. What kind of license you can have in DAVSA? Of course, we are eager to all the license. Companies can have a trading license. So if you want to do import and export, yes, you can do that. If you are a company who would like to have a service license, you are allowed to have that license. We're starting the e-commerce business. We have another project called Dubai Commerce City, and you can also have that license in DAVSA also. Industrial license where you can rent a warehouse or light industrial unit and establish your manufacturing or a logistic company. General trading, so if you're doing multi-commodities business and you shipping different products to the MENA region, you can have that license also in DAVSA. Next, please. Now, clients, when it comes to here, we prepare some solution for him that's turnkeys, or he has a choice of having his own office fit out. So there are offices, customized office solution, minimum is 25 square meter. This is a turnkey. Client comes and take the office with wallpaper, carpet, false ceiling, everything ready. So basically he comes, do the paperwork, establish the company and return. Office packages, we have two types of packages, premium and package and premium plus with the different fit out. You can see that's all fitted with the furniture. Business desk, if you are not sure what you want to do at the stage and you're searching the market, you can have a small desk that you can come and have a license, and then you fly to the different region in the Middle East and then start doing research and be comfortable that you can do business, and you upgrade yourself from a desk to a fully filled office. A warehouse, when you have a fully fledged business in the region, but you don't have a present, but you want to start a logistic present where you distribute your product in a timely manner, saving times for those clients, where instead of waiting a shipment of 20 days, 10 days, or 15 days, you have a product within DAVSA and immediately you ship it to the clients within a few days, I would say. And that warehouse is size of 40 square meters. Now, during this pandemic things, we came up with a lot of initiatives with His Highness, because our chairman, Sheikh Ahmed, and that's from the government. We came up with a lot of exempts. For example, exempt retailer from lease payment up to 3 months, postpone the lease payment for 3 months, facilitating the financial payment into their easy installment. So we looked at every client, because different clients have a different industries, and that's what we try to do in DAVSA. We don't have a landlord and tenant relationship. We have a team relationship. Your growth is important to us because you add a lot to the UAE economy by doing business here. So we look at you as a team partner in our UAE economy and in DAVSA. So whatever industry, for example, the e-commerce business is doing good, the airline industry is not doing good. So each client has a different, I would say, treatment in DAVSA, and we look at case by case. And we help all the clients, the objective, maintaining the clients and let them grow in UAE. So no matter what kind of issues you have, we will solve it for you at the end of the day in DAVSA. We try to, even if you try to you don't have a business, we will take it to our partner like Mr. Saad Al-Awadi at His Excellency. We help clients to grow from Dubai to overseas. So we'll connect you with those government bodies. There are a lot of initiatives that we do in DAVSA. So it's basically teamwork, focus on the tenant growth from Dubai to other regions. Registering and save now. This is some of the things now we're doing during this pandemic time. We have a 50% off in a smart desk with the price. We have 30% light industry unit on that discounts. We have 20%. That's to stimulate people who want to do a business, or our tenants who wants to, expand their business in a certain area. But we have done a lot of flexibility. We've done and we are doing a lot of flexibilities with our tenants. Thank you for the presentation, and I'm sure there will be a lot of questions later on. I'm happy to answer your questions. Anything you need from my side, from DAVSA, we're willing to do at this time. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Jamal, for your presentation. I do know that you have some other priorities after this webinar. Just one thing, I guess, for those listening. Over the past couple of years, the UAE has introduced a VAT tax regime, and there remain benefits of being based and doing business primarily in a number of free zones which I guess are defined as fenced free zones. And I know that DAVSA is one of those free zones that does have that advantage. I don't know if you just could add something to those who are looking at a beneficial free zone.
Yes. As you mentioned, Nick, yes, DAVSA, one of the free zone that's a bounded free zone. So as per the FTA rule and regulations, DAVSA, any tenant who doing business in DAVSA, that exempt from the VAT, which is 5%. And on top of that, also doing the custom business. So you are basically saving 10%, I would say. It's not a 5% from FTA, which is the VAT. Also, when you bring a product from overseas and stock it in DAVSA, you don't have to pay the custom duty, which is 5%. So you are saving on 5% custom duty, you are saving on 5% of VAT. So a total of value of 10% you're saving here in DAVSA. So that helped a lot of businesses to do business, because 10% on $1 million deal, it's 100,000 dirham. Sorry, 100,000 US dollars. So that's a money that you can always keep in your pocket and do a lot of businesses. Yes. So this is one of the advantages DAVSA have within the regulation of UAE, that you don't pay the 5% duty, you don't pay the FTA fees at this stage, unless you take your product outside DAVSA and UAE, then you end up paying that 5%. But when you do international business, yes, you are exempt from those duties.
Okay, thanks for that clarification, Jamal. Now, there's just one other question, and you know, in this day and age, and particularly, look, Dubai's been a driving force of empowering Emirati women and women in business. And there's a question just about how DAVSA can facilitate the female investor. Because I know DAVSA has got some incredible staff there, and you've got a lot of male and female Emirati staff and other staff who can support people in their investing decisions. I don't know if you could just add anything more to that.
Well, like I said, there's multinational people. I mean, a lot of different nationality working in DAVSA, and local female, males, and different. The support of DAVSA from the top management is always there, and His Highness Sheikh Ahmed been supporting all the nationality, and especially the women's. And we support different companies, whether it's women investors or a different nationalities.
Right. Okay, thank you so much for your time, Jamal.
You're most welcome.
We look forward to seeing you soon. And if there's any further follow-up questions of DAVSA, I'm sure we can facilitate those through to your team.
Sure, thank you. And my apology, I have to run for another meeting within a few minutes.
Okay, have a wonderful day in the hot and humid summer.
Thank you, Nick. Have a good day. Thank you.
Now, moving from DAVSA, which is geographically beneficial in its location next to Dubai Airport, to JAVSA, which is located next to the incredible Jebel Ali ports, and also the Al Maktoum Airport, which provides various opportunities for those looking to invest into the UAE. So to outline the opportunities at JAVSA is Mr. Faisal Jazm, who's the Senior Manager of Sales. Over to you, Faisal.
Thank you so much, Nick, and thank you, Muhsin, and everybody else as well who's on the line. Great to have you here, and thank you for inviting me. So I'm going to give you all a brief overview about the Jebel Ali Free Zone and the Jebel Ali Port. They really have a symbiotic relationship, and they have also a symbiotic relationship with the airport, and I'll explain that later on. Next slide, please. And the slide after that. Okay, so if you could see here, no, just before that. So if you could see here, so DP World is obviously one of the top 5 port operators in the world. I believe we're number 3. We have 78 ports in 40 countries in the world. So if you see those little yellow dots all around the world, is where DP World is located. Now, obviously, you know, the audience here is into logistics, so that is obviously something that's music to their ears. It's very important to know that we're connected around the world, because when you come to Dubai and when you come to JAVSA and when you come to DP World, you know that you really have a partner globally, not just here. You know, I believe Fahad was also mentioning earlier that Dubai Airport is one of the top 3 airports in the world, dwarfed only by Atlanta and Beijing, which is saying a lot in and of itself. Now, in terms of DP World and JAVSA, the UAE region, we manage 3 ports in Dubai, obviously the Jebel Ali port being our flagship port. We have we have 3 economic zones, apologies, and JABSA being the flagship economic zone. We have trade enablement services, which I'll explain later on as well. Next slide, please. So in this slide, you can see that we're connected to more than 16,000 kilometers of road network, and we can reach anywhere in the GCC, the Gulf Cooperation Council, within 1 business day. Now, as was mentioned earlier by Fahad as well, we're connected to almost 2.5 billion people from Dubai. Now, just to put it into perspective, I'll give you a very interesting figure. It takes a shorter amount of time to go from Dubai to Mumbai, which is the economic hub of India, than it does from Mumbai to New Delhi, which is the political hub of India. So it just goes to show you the depth of the relationship that we have in Dubai, traditionally that goes back centuries, and we build on it as of today. Now, in terms of the efficiency that we offer in JABSA and DP World and Dubai in general is very important. So to clear customs, for example, in another regional country takes a week, and in certain instances up to 3 months. In Dubai or in JABSA, it takes up to 1 hour. So this is why it's important for clients to come to us and to realize that they can take advantage of these logistical solutions. Yesterday, I was talking with a client who is in oil and gas and petrochemicals, and they have a facility and a factory in Saudi Arabia, and they're thinking of actually locating their factory to us in Dubai and to feed the Saudi market, which is counterintuitive really if you think about it, because the oil and gas and the petrochemical hub is over there. However, they're coming to us and considering us as a contender because of the logistical efficiencies that we provide. Now, in this slide, you'll see that obviously it brings it all together in a very nice mosaic. So we have ports and terminals across the world. We have the capacity to handle almost 22 million containers. Our parks and zones combined have over 9,000 companies and employ 155,000 people. And we have the logistical infrastructure. And this is very important. You gentlemen and you ladies are not coming to jobs. They're not coming to Dubai and you're having to reinvent the wheel. It's there. It's just up to you to take advantage of it and really, realize the potential that you have. Next slide, please. Now, this slide is very important, and really, everybody that's into logistics, probably this slide should be the most exciting. So if you see that upside down F, that's the Jebel Ali port. The A is obviously the Jebel Ali port. The B and the green are the Jebel Ali free zone. The H is the Al Maktoum International Airport. And that little snake or that little centipede that you see on the side is the rail terminal that is under construction currently. So you have access to an airport, you have access to a seaport, you have access to 2 major highways, and soon you'll have access as well to a rail port, all within a custom bounded area. So just imagine the possibilities. So let's say you're in logistics and you're dealing in pharmaceuticals, or you're dealing in food and beverage, or you're dealing in high value goods, and you get a phone call. You could immediately, from when you put the phone down to shipping your good out, it takes within 30 minutes. There's no model that exists like this in the world. So something that we're very proud of, and we've been working as well closely with our colleagues in Dubai South, and I'm sure my colleague from Dubai South will also mention that as well in his presentation. Next slide, please. So in terms of JABSA, just kind of like DABSA as well, we have a one-stop shop model. We have a variety of solutions. So we have warehouses, we have light industrial units, showrooms, offices, workstations. We also have something very interesting, which is called the build-to-suit model. So this is where a client has a large facility requirement, 7,000 square meters and above. Now, instead of going back and forth with your board of directors and your banks to justify a massive capital expenditure, we build the facility for you and lease it out to you over a period of time. Now, in terms of logistics, we've done that for UPS, we've done that for Seva, we've done that as well for General Electric, and we've done that for many other clients as well. So again, it's another possibility to think about, another option to think about going forward if you do decide to move into Dubai. Next slide, please. The slide after that. So in terms of the logistical industry, this is just a snapshot of where we are in logistics in JABSA. We have more than 390 logistical companies in JABSA from 31 countries in the world. Logistical entities have been our partner from the very beginning. We were established with the goal of moving the Jebel Ali port, and that has been our core focus, not only in Dubai, but also across our portfolio around the world. We're very port-centric and we're very trade-centric. So this is where we try to enable global trade. So this is why we have 390 logistics companies with us and growing. Next slide, please. And this is really, these are the reasons why logistical companies come to us. Our port is multifunctional. So we not only can receive containerized bulk and containerized cargo, but also break bulk, ro-ro, lolo, yo-yo, whatever you can think about, whatever you can think about, we can accept it in the port. So this is why logistical companies and companies in general come to us. We have the capacity to handle dangerous goods, non-dangerous cargo, perishables. Last week we were on the call with our colleagues from the Dubai municipality. The Dubai municipality, the Dubai customs authorities, and all the relevant authorities not only are located in Jafsa, but they're strategically placed next to the port. So when you get your goods off the boat, you can immediately take it for inspection, and it can go into the mainland. It can be re-exported. Whatever needs to be done is there. So the whole infrastructure is there. We are a hubbing, obviously, port. So we are one of the major ports in the world. So obviously, the large container ships come to our ports of call, and we have the capacity to welcome them, which is not the case for many of the regional ports. Just to put it into perspective, the Jebel Ali port has the capacity to handle 14 post-Panamax ships simultaneously. So just goes to show you the extent of the port. In terms of multimodal transportation, we have that all, as I mentioned earlier. We have cold storage units, cool storage units, temperature controlled units, everything you can think about, we have it there in terms of storage and logistics. And really the last point is the major point why logistical companies come to us. We're connected to more than 150 destinations around the world. So, in logistics, you make it, you either thrive or you die, depending on time, depending on efficiency. So this is why companies flock to us and come to us over here. It took us almost 40 years to get here, but this is why companies use the port. Now, again, in terms of the connectivity, as I was mentioning, we have the sea aspect of it through the Jebel Ali port. We have the air aspect. So our colleague previously was mentioning Dubai International Airport. We have as well Al Maktoum International Airport. I don't want to delve too much into that. I'll have my colleague from Dubai South explain about that. We're connected to more than 16,000 kilometers of road network, as I mentioned earlier. And we have as well the digital platform. So again, all these things are great, but we also need to take it to the next level, which is digitization. So Dubai Trade, which is our sister entity, almost 99% of the services can be done online. And I'm not just talking about visas and renewal of your trade license. I'm talking about customs clearance, booking a berth for your ship, nominating a hauling company for your goods, etc. All that can be done online. So you sitting where you are in Australia, can run your business out of there in Dubai. Next slide, please. So last year, we as DP World decided to launch a logistical entity, Smart Solution Logistics. It's our sister logistical entity, and they can really provide the whole suite of logistical solutions. Now, you sitting there right now and looking at the presentation and logistics, don't think that this is a direct competition to you. It is not, and it was not established as such. It is meant to be the logistical provider of logistical entities. So Smart Solution Logistics, actually their main companies are other logistical entities. So let's say you have an order for a cool storage unit or a cool storage order, and you don't have the facilities to fulfill it. So you can outsource this to Smart Solution Logistics. So again, this is why they're there to support you. If you boil down Dubai and you boil down Jafsa, it's really a conductive business environment. That's what we do, and that's what we do best. Next slide, please. So we have as well in this slide, Dubai Trade, as I was mentioning earlier, almost 99% of the services can be done online. So again, I'm talking about booking, cargo for your ships, in terms of air cargo through Emirates, in terms of paying of your, banking facilities, LCs, LGs, etc., insurance nominations, hauling truck nominations, everything can really be done online. Almost 950 services plus can be done online. And this is why a lot of clients come to us over here. And when I'm talking about clients, I'm not just talking about local clients, but also international clients, because they have the flexibility to manage their businesses outside of the UAE. So being in Australia, being in the US, being in Latin America, Africa, etc., you can manage your businesses and you don't have to physically be here. Next slide, please. And the slide after that. So just to give you a snapshot of Australian companies, we have more than 50 Australian companies, very proudly, are here in Jafsa. Our trade figures have been increasing over the years, and that's something that we're proud of. And hopefully after this conference and after this series, we hope to see even more in the future. Next slide, please. So I wanted to give you a brief as well about a very interesting project that we're working on, which is called Project India Bridge. So DP World, just to give you a snapshot of DP World in India. DP World is the second largest foreign direct investor in India. We manage 25% of India's trade through our 6 ports, 13 inland facilities, and 2 logistical companies, and growing. So we have a dedicated team over there. Now, what that means for you, or what that means for the consumer, it means, and this bridge project means that we can go from your factory door to your client's doorstep, you know, all within one organization, which is DP World. So this is a very big logistical machine. It's something that we've invested in heavily, and we continue to invest in, and we ask you, and almost plead with you to take advantage of. So in Project India Bridge is one of the projects that is up and running right now. The other ones in the pipeline are Africa Bridge, Europe Bridge, Latin America Bridge, and more as well in the pipeline. So this is where we try to bring, you know, the yellow dots that you saw on my first slide. We really try to bring it together and try to enable trade, you know, globally for our clients. And with that, I conclude my presentation, and I hope, you know, to hear from you and take any questions you might have.
Excellent. Thank you for that, Faisal. And I trust that you're around for the balance of the presentations to take questions at the end as well?
Sure.
Okay, excellent. Now, I guess the path of speakers is quite convenient because you did mention Dubai South and the close relationship between JAVSA and Dubai South. So that leads us on to Mohsen Al-Awadi, who's the CEO of Logistics of Dubai South, who no doubt has some great stories to tell of the incredible successes Dubai South has had over the recent years.
Good morning, Nick. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen in Australia. I want to like to thank the FDI and Australian Arab Chamber and Australian Business Council for giving us sort of the opportunity to present what Dubai's capability when it comes to logistics and trade. I'd like to also thank my colleagues who started the discussions earlier, sort of positioning, and I'm not going to sort of dodge on sort of things that was mentioned, because I think what Dubai has proven in terms of the services or sort of capabilities has been well stated earlier in the previous discussions. What if we can go to the next slide, please? Or I think where I'm coming, I'm just going to shift a little bit the sort of the discussion, just for the sake of the people. I come from Dubai South Logistics, but you might see the slide as Easy Dubai. Easy Dubai is one of our new products where it comes to specifically for e-commerce zone. And I think e-commerce has been sort of the latest discussions or sort of the latest hot topic that everybody's talking about, specifically when it came to the sort of the COVID-19 pandemic. And sort of when you look at the Middle East, and in particular, if you sort of, I think the 3 countries that stands down, it's UAE, Saudi Arabia, and Egypt. Egypt, I think, with the population, and then both Saudi Arabia and UAE with sort of GDP per capita, that makes it a sort of a huge difference in sort of the power that they have. And I think it's as if you look at also world logistics performance, UAE is still one of the top ranked 11 in sort of the global when it comes to the logistics side. Next slide, please. For those who are not familiar with Dubai, I think Nick is somewhere in between these two sort of bluish. We're right next to Jebel Ali. I think that's something that was mentioned earlier by Faisal about our location. We're right next to Jebel Ali port, and sort of the dotted line that you see that's connecting the Jebel Ali port to us is what was known as Dubai Logistics Corridor, enabling sort of somewhere about 200 square kilometers of a sort of industrial and logistics park for people. We're on the other side of the Dubai, hence Dubai South. We're in the south position, and it's a multi-development facility. Next, please. The sort of Dubai South has different various entities in it. The 8 main components. Obviously, the heart of that project is the airport, which is managed by our sister company, Dubai Airports Company, the same company that manages Dubai International Airport. And that then we're building quite a lot of things around it. We've got residential sort of project that we just recently are handing over to various sort of occupiers, both things that we have developed ourselves or sort of a joint venture with people like Emaar, who were behind the Burj Khalifa. Then we also have our aviation sector, which we are calling it Mohammed bin Rashid Aerospace Hub, focusing specifically on aviation and the aviation industry, being it sort of you know, maintenance, private jets, education, flight academies. So yeah, I think the aviation sector these days are going through a tough time, but I think in Dubai's spirit, we never stop, and I think we are working very hard because I'm sure there will be a bounce back. And humanity has always proven that they can overcome any sort of challenges there. Of course, you know, I think today is thanks, you know, because of what we've seen, we could have been discussing quite a lot about upcoming or what was supposed to be in sort of October 2020, the Expo 2020, but that has been now postponed to next year. You know, I think our leadership are very much focused on it, and hopefully by 2021 we will be seeing more majority of the people in the audience here and physically to see how we can discuss sort of future opportunities. I won't go into that, but I think the last part where I'm sort of indulge into is where the logistics sector, and then I'm going to go specifically into e-commerce. Next slide. From a logistics point of view, we have multiple areas where we're focusing on in the logistics, considering that where our location is next to the airport and sort of Jebel Ali Port. We have predominantly focusing on sort of sectors like the sort of fashion, life science, perishables, IT, telecom, e-commerce, and sort of critical spare parts. We work on sort of different product ranges. I think my colleagues earlier worked out. So we do offices, we do warehouses, we do build-to-suit, and just so that the second facility on the left, that's a facility will be built for Amazon. The sort of the one where you see is FH2, that's a DHL facility, and then the far right is sort of an IKEA facility that we built suit. So we do quite a various mix of products when it comes to our clients. Next, please. Logistics corridor was covered. I think that was one of the biggest challenge. Thanks to our colleague Javza and DP World and then particularly Dubai Customs. In 2010, we enabled this, and it's working quite well. Where the seaport and airport have been communicated. I think His Excellency, our ambassador, mentioned earlier about military. So Australian military was one of the sort of maybe the second country that benefited from this corridor, where the army sort of the redeployment out of Afghanistan, and we were sort of with DP World helped very much to get those sort of military logistics back to Australia. So we were part of that sort of logistics side, and the logistics corridor played a major role in that. Next, please. I think you know, one of the things, the connectivity has been specific mentioned by most of our colleagues earlier, and that certainly has been sort of the strength of UAE and Dubai in particular. You know, our position has always been, okay, we've got these sort of great airlines, Emirates Airline, sort of Etihad Airways. I think that we shouldn't forget our sort of the low budget carriers, both Air Arabia and Fly Dubai, who have been successfully become sort of both international and strong regional players, both in terms of passenger and cargo, and they have done quite well connecting. Similarly, when it comes to airlines, you know, you got UPS, DHL, and FedEx. Certainly look at Dubai as sort of one of their key global hub to sort of distribute and sort of connect to great airlines like, I mean, my colleague Ravi will be speaking probably in details later on from Emirates Sky Cargo, how well they are, these sort of integrators are connecting to our local airline. To just correct, and so sorry, stay on the same. Nick, I think you mentioned about the sort of designated fences earlier. Well, I think yeah, that's a sort of there are different zones in UAE that have that designated zone. So yeah, DAFZA was one of the examples, but certainly JAVZA, us, and a few sort of other areas around UAE that have the government has looked at. These are where VATs and tax sort of the customs duties are sort of exempted. Similarly, the 100% ownership. There, wherever there's a fence, there's a gate that monitors. That's what our sort of FTA considers as sort of a designated zone. And people operate other. So it has worked very well, and I think that sort of understanding has gone for our colleagues who are not here, but DMCC, sort of the Dubai Multi Commodity, who are actually on another FDI webinar as we speak at the moment. So yeah, it's working very well. Next, please. I think where I wanted to do sort of come into e-commerce, I think that's something that a lot of people have sort of witnessed. We're all sitting at home this pandemic. We're ordering sort of many different things at home. But I think it's good to understand in Australia what sort of the e-commerce dynamics are there. Today, the region has sort of less than 2% penetration of e-commerce. This was post-COVID-19. I mean, today I think we're still waiting for sort of pre-COVID-19 these figures are, but I'm sure that has increased. UAE is still the leader with 4.2% penetration of e-commerce. Now, comparing that to sort of more developed countries, when it comes to e-commerce, you're talking about 10 to 15%. So there's potentially a lot of room to grow in that aspect of e-commerce if you're coming, and specifically if you're into sort of the SMEs, retailers, and I think Dubai has proven to be sort of a best location, considering what was stated earlier from our logistics capabilities, from ease of doing business, from the business setup, the sort of the incentives, some of the incentives that most of the free zone have provided when it comes to COVID-19. For example, on e-commerce, we do provide free licensing for people to establish, just to get the ball rolling. I think UAE has been very, very active in sort of e-commerce, and particularly, so our government sectors have gone a lot of digitalization, our airline, and one of the sort of something that was there, e-freight, sort of digitalizing aviation documents. I think it was forced upon a lot of the industry that took them forever to do it. Now, slowly, you can see that became a reality, and I'm very happy. That's something that we've been discussing as early as 2008 over a pandemic that became a reality, and people are using it. The financial transactions are becoming more and more obviously, So what I'm trying to say that the e-commerce has become sort of a quite a success, and I think it's becoming more and more growth in there. The consumers here are very much informed. If you look at the reason, consumers prefer to shop. We are very savvy in our, so they always look for lower price. But I think that's our nature. The Middle East, we see the product selection; it gives us more up, and I think the convenience. And I think today, why bigger players like Amazon and Alibaba are deciding, Middle East or sort of Middle East and North Africa are becoming more an area of focus for them, because they see quite a large growth. Next, please. And speaking of the growth that we're seeing right now, we're looking at somewhere about 29% growth in that sector, and because now I think that also was sort of probably underestimated, considering people have experienced, people have felt that, and people are pre-COVID-19, people are well connected. I mean, if you look at UAE, 91% of the people have sort of internet penetration. That's one of the highest globally. You look at Saudi Arabia, Egypt maybe not, but those are growing. More and more people are being connected in these countries, and it is increasing. But I think where the opportunity lies today, we have a very limited SKUs, or sort of number of products that have been listed in the Middle East marketplaces. I mean, I'm talking, these are the figures, but if you compare that to sort of global leader, i.e. sort of the US, you know, you're talking about 550 million SKUs as opposed to sort of 9 or 10 million SKUs. That's increasing. A lot more has come on board. You know, considering that now Apple Store and Amazon Global are offering the UAE delivery, and quite a lot of you know, people like Noon who came into the picture, and we also sort of number of companies who moved from India and China and established their sort of presence in UAE, allowed more of these SKUs to be growing. Next, please. You can see the sort of UAE's top sector. Retail online has grown. Restaurants, online delivery. I'm not talking about physical. These are only what was online. And I think even in terms of the transport, because of the sort of last mile deliveries, I think that was a very interesting story I wanted to share of how government interferes. Thanks to sort of our colleagues from the Dubai Economics Department, when they saw a sort of a disruption in the supply chain of sort of the last mile delivery, they intervened. So they brought in the parties like Aramex, the Carrefour, and Dubai Taxi onto the table and say, okay, the taxis are not taking people. Can they start delivering goods? And I think that was a very good, amazing initiative by the Dubai government, that they are not just there to govern. I think they are there to support. They are there to develop solutions, and that's what they did. And there was a number of initiatives related to that helped out. Next, please. In the area, obviously, we're doing ease of delivery, cost of doing efficiently. Like our colleague, we are very much multimodal connectivity when it comes to seaport, airport. We have done a purpose-built e-commerce cluster. So we are sort of operational. People are utilizing the facility as we speak. So has common operation, and soon and later we're going to be announcing further more companies that are coming alive with physical operation on this. Next, please. That's just to give you a briefing. The overall map that you see, it's in terms of the sort of the logistics district. Easy Dubai is sort of a part of that development. It's roughly about a square kilometer, designated for sort of the large e-commerce player and the SMEs and the startups, where we're looking at the sort of working with. Next, please. The unique proposition of this is this sort of we thought about, okay, how do we do it? So we are looking at the areas where you can do the big supply, which is typically your free zone storage, and I just to prepare, the whole area is a free zone. The area also has last mile delivery, so people's likes of DHL and likes of a few others that we're going to be announcing soon will be joining sort of the last mile center that's operation. And of course the e-fulfillment center, sort of the distribution centers that are there. And I think the most important on e-commerce has a lot of return and repair. So we brought all these parties under one area close by, because there is a lot of synergies, and where we're looking at this, how do we make this as efficient as possible? Where you see sort of where the red box over the supply center, that's where the cargo terminal is, just across the street from there. Our colleagues from Emirates Sky Cargo have the Sky sort of the Sky Central facility that used to handle sort of the freighters, and I'm sure soon they're going to be back, and we will have to welcome you back with a sort of a lot of to get our Emirates Sky Cargo guys back. But I think with COVID-19 has also proved that our cargo side of business, which is non-Emirates, has grown significantly. And that is sort of, it shows the position of Dubai, where we were not only from a cargo, because of the passenger shutdown, people were looking for alternatives. So cargo freighters were coming in that was non-Emirates. I think Emirates was very creative of changing the passenger, just like to freighters. Many other airlines around the world have done this similarly. And today, this airport, from a freighter perspective, became a sort of a hub for countries to get their PPEs, to get their medical equipments, to sort of fulfill their e-commerce requirement. And we're landing here, either going again back to Emirates network, or it was going through a road to some of the other countries, or again, a smaller freighter taking it to destinations like in Africa or sort of the other countries. Next, please. I think the unique proposition of this, where we give these facilities or these operations, is that we give the free zone and non-free zone in the same facility. And thanks to sort of customs, we've developed this sort of unique proposition where people can benefit from both under one roof. So management of facilities becomes a lot easier. Next, please. Yeah, the tenants, we've got quite a lot of different tenants are there. In particularly, I mean, I think I did mention Amazon. Noon, for those who don't know, this is a new sort of startup that started in 2017. That's a joint venture between one of our predominant businessmen in UAE and sort of the Saudi pension fund with a $1 billion startup capital. They're sort of marketplace. One interesting one is First Cry. First Cry is a company that was established out of India. This is the first time they're coming out of India and they established here in UAE to serve the region. And they are basically serve anything from a 0 to sort of 9-year-old kids. So if you have any kid in that area, they sort of provide that. And I think the rest of the brands, I don't need to speak for them. They're well known and they speak for themselves. And I think with that, I wanted to sort of thank you guys for allowing me, giving me this opportunity, and hopefully we will have more discussion when it comes to the sort of the Q&A.
Thanks so much, Mohsen. I think the previous slide showing some of the star companies that have decided to choose Dubai South to be based in, and also I know there's a lot of little companies that you support. Dubai South is a real success story. Now, and you'll be around. Hopefully, there will be some Q&A. I think we're starting to run short on time. So, without being discourteous, I'll move quickly on to the next speaker, which is Ibrahim Ali, who's the Director Investment Promotion Divisions for Dubai FDI, Dubai Advantage. Over to you, Ibrahim.
Thank you very much, Nick. It's great to be with all of the ladies and gentlemen in Australia. Good afternoon to all of you. I represent the Dubai Investment Development Agency, which is a part of Department of Economic Development of Dubai government. And this is a Dubai Advantage presentation, which you will also see it, we have it online. It's called thedubaiadvantage.com. It is always updated with facts and figures, information, and all relevant figures that are required by any of you. Next, please. So we'll start with Dubai as a city, the Dubai GDP contribution. We're still waiting for the 2019, but you will see here, there is a lot on the storage and transportation sector being 12.3%, and wholesale and retail trade 26.4%, manufacturing is 9%, and financial and insurance activities 10%. Next, please. Dubai as a city, we continue to receive visitors across the world. Well, not during these very difficult times that is happening with the COVID-19 around the world. It's obvious that the whole of the visitors around the world have been on pause, we can see at this stage, but Dubai has been always busy with attracting tourists from different parts of the world as well as from Australia. And hopefully when COVID-19 is almost over, let's say by the end of the year, then we can see the growth of the visitors coming back to Dubai and business to be as usual. Dubai as a gateway is a gateway to the neighboring markets of 2.4 billion consumers. And this is surrounded by the GCC, Gulf Cooperation countries, with the Middle East, CIS market being the Kazakhstan countries all the way to Azerbaijan, Indian subcontinent as well. Next. Dubai is the hub for the whole of the region, imports all sorts of products, as mentioned by our colleagues earlier. It's the best logistics in the region, and we are the hub for the re-export from Dubai to the 2.4 billion consumers. Expo 2020 Dubai has been decided, obviously for obvious reasons really, to be postponed for next year, starting 1st of October 2021 for 6 months of the period ending on 31st March 2022. And the theme is Connecting Minds, Creating the Future, with the sub-themes being mobility, sustainability, and opportunity. Next, please. This is statistics on the Dubai's trade from 2016 all the way to the Q1 of this year, and it is a steady growth year after year. As mentioned, we are the hub for the region's import, export, and re-export. Little talking about the agricultural side for the opportunity that is on the logistics side, because with the current situation, there is a very high growth on the import and re-export of agricultural products. Food and agribusiness has been very, very important. $18.8 billion is the value of the UAE's halal food industry, and we do import a lot of products from Australia, even at the current situation, with the 1,000 greenhouses available in Dubai. UAE National Food Security Strategy is technology-enabled food production and agribusiness trade facilitation, and to have food safety with its nutrition, and to reduce food loss and waste, as well as food risks and crisis management. Ladies and gentlemen, UAE's target on the Global Food Security Index, it is ranked 21st last year and ranked 31st in the year before. So we jumped to 21 last year, and ranked 9th. It will rank 9th in the world by 2021. So it's a very important sector for United Arab Emirates, where Dubai is focusing on the R&D priorities for the food research platform. And you will see here on the screen very quickly, because we are more or less losing some time. So you will find out here agriculture, biotechnology, the alternative food, bio-based materials, and novel farming, for example, robotics and equipment, and agriculture waste mitigation. That would be all the priorities for the R&D of the food and security. Dubai's infrastructure is excellent. Obviously, we've got all modes of transportation, from bus, water taxis, the metro, we've got also the trams and so on. And this continues to grow, and the Steel Road and Transport Authority is investing heavily on expanding the infrastructure of the city. Next, please. 2021 Dubai plan is to be a city, proactive, transparent, reliable, and innovative government, to be obviously a vibrant, tolerant, and inclusive multicultural society. We are offering sustainable economic growth, and a city to be a smart, sustainable, and healthy living for everyone, whether we are the residents as well as the UAE nationals. Next, please. Dubai goes forward being a smart government, and this is 100% of the entire government transactions to be paperless by 2021. And I believe even our department by 90%, we are currently achieving this strategy. 100 initiatives have been launched since it started. Dubai blockchain strategy is to have the first blockchain-powered government driving the future economy, and it will be the world's first ever government to execute all applicable transactions using blockchain technology by the end of this year. Next, please. Artificial intelligence, we have a dedicated minister for this very important sector, is to add $182 billion into the United Arab Emirates economy by 2035. And this artificial intelligence will impact 15 different sectors, but the priority goes, as you can see, ladies and gentlemen, on the screen, being on the healthcare sector, 22 billion, financial services sector, transport, storage segments is 19 billion, and then followed by the education and construction. Federal Science, Technology, and Innovation Policy, there is an $82 billion pool targeting 40% increase in the knowledge workers by 2021. And this is spread into different main sectors, being the space sector, innovation incubators, academic research centers, but the majority goes into the clean energy projects plus renewable energy, both of them being a total of $54 billion. Ladies and gentlemen, tourism and hospitality, as mentioned, Dubai was and still and will be always a hot spot for the tourist attraction, having lots of hotels already offering even for the local and the residents community before having the international visitors coming back. So 740 plus hotels and hotel apartments with offering 126 plus thousand rooms available, and this will increase as a very important sector in Dubai. Followed by that is the retail. Dubai has been a fantastic shopping center for the 2.4 billion consumers surrounded by us when they travel by 5 hours radius from Dubai. Emirates Airline offers an excellent network. It always was and definitely will be back on track, the same if not better by end of this year as well as next year. So Dubai is the first for international retailer presence, and being #1 Dubai ranked the most important international shopping destination globally. And obviously now my colleague Mr. Mohsen of Dubai South has talked about the e-commerce business, which did a great job and continues to do so, while we all were staying back home during the COVID-19. Now we are back to our offices, and gradually retail is opening its doors to the community. Banking and financial services. Dubai International Financial Center is a free zone dedicated for that sector, attracting 2,400 plus number of different companies in the financial sector. And it has the AACCI courts, which is an independent judiciary for the civil, commercial, and inheritance disputes that is based on the UK common law. Next, please. So really, Dubai aims to be the capital of the Islamic economy. It is already the 10th in the annual International Financial Center, IFC, ranking by the Banker magazine, having $54 billion US market capitalization of Nasdaq Dubai in 2019. Next, please. Manufacturing sector is very, very important in Dubai. We're having a strategy targets to become a global platform for knowledge-based, sustainable, and innovative industries. And that goes across 6 main sectors. Next slide, please. This is the 6 industrial sectors. As you can see, the aerospace, maritime, where my colleagues have been talking about, from the Dubai Airport Free Zone, adjacent to the Dubai International Airport, Dubai South, which Mr. Mohsen talked, as well as my colleague, Mr. Faisal of Jebel Ali Free Zone Authority. So you see here, airspace, maritime are very important, but the healthcare sector is extremely important, especially post-COVID-19. It will be further focused by the entire government of UAE, including Dubai Emirate. So pharmaceuticals and medical equipment is very important. Aluminum and fabricated metals, fast-moving consumer goods with machinery and equipment. Next, please. Dubai Industrial Strategy for 2030 is to promote environmentally friendly and energy efficient manufacturing, and to make Dubai as a preferred manufacturing platform for the global business. Next, please. Next is really to say thank you to all of you. It is a great pleasure for us to present Dubai Advantage, and obviously we thank both Australia Arab Chamber of Commerce. We also have another, that's why I said British. We have another webinar to come with the Arab British Chamber of Commerce. But we really thank Australia Arab Chamber of Commerce and Industry, as well as the Australian Business Council in Dubai, for their superb support in having this second webinar of a series of 4. And to thank really our stakeholders in Dubai, JAVSA, as well as Dubai South. And obviously I'll give the platform to our valued stakeholder, which is Emirates Sky Cargo, who without them, you know, the logistics will not be a complete one. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you so much, Ibrahim, and we will forgive you for the reference to the English. Whilst I have you, I just have one quick question, which I know we do have some Q&A at the end. It just relates to a lot of those who are looking to invest in the UAE may have historically seen certain industries as being protected. However, there have been great developments over the last few years and even this year on opening up certain sectors to 100% foreign investment. I was just wondering if there's something you could talk to.
Yes, Nick, Ministry of Economy has introduced the 100% ownership law, and it has its criteria, how to go about it and how to apply for it. But it can be done through Dubai FDI as the Department of Economic Development, so we can take that on board. And it has a positive list, obviously. So where there are certain sectors of plus 60 sectors. So for any of ladies and gentlemen who are listening to us and seeing us here, we would be more than delighted to receive such inquiry and take it over to the Minister of Economy for further action to be taken on that and provide the relevant information on this.
Excellent. I was just on mute. The technology issues. Thanks for your answer, Ibrahim. And you mentioned a very important partner, I guess, for all stakeholders here is Emirates Sky Cargo. And I do apologize, Ravi, because you are the last speaker and you, of all people, are no doubt incredibly busy during this time. I know that Emirates Sky Cargo has been incredibly busy. There's areas of aviation that have struggled, but others that have done well, and that has been the cargo sector at the moment. And I just waiting, is your presentation going to pop up? Can that, excellent, thank you. So Ravi Merle is the VP Cargo Commercial at Emirates Far Eastern Australasia, and Ravi's remit includes probably some areas of the world which have been incredibly busy over the last few months. Over to you, Ravi, to explain the wonders that Emirates Sky Cargo do.
Good afternoon to participants in Australia. Good morning to participants in Dubai. Nick, thank you very much for having me over. One of the advantages of being the last speaker is the other speakers tend to have covered quite a few things. In my presentation, you might see a few slides which are repetitive, but I have deliberately included these slides more to show the legacy of Emirates, the legacy of transportation, logistics, the pinnacle point pre-COVID, our rebuilding efforts, and our commitment to the Australian businesses and our Australian operations. Next slide, please. Some of us will remember this historic day on the 25th of October 1985, where we started our operations with 2 aircraft operating to India and Pakistan. Next slide, please. 35 years later, we have about 269 aircraft in our fleet. We fly to, pre-COVID, we used to fly to about 159 destinations. In the last 2 months, we have ramped up the cargo operations and we fly to 82 destinations, and I'll speak more about it a little later. What is also coincidental today is today also happens to be the day when we have connected 4 points in Australia and we start passenger services on top of the cargo operations which have been in operation for the past 8 weeks. Next slide, please. In our fleet, we have aircrafts from Airbus as well as Boeing. On the bottom left, you have the Boeing 777F, which is the freighter, which is a full freighter with a capacity of about 100 tons. We have 11 of them, and we have on the top right, we have the 777-300ER, which is a passenger aircraft, and we have 133 of such aircrafts. Currently, we are using about 80 to 85 of these aircrafts, of these passenger aircrafts as freighters. And at this point of time, we operate these aircrafts into Australia. Next slide, please. The geocentric advantage of Dubai has helped trade and commerce. Within a radius of about 4 hours, we tend to cover 1/3 of the world population. With a radius of over 8 hours, on the east, we cover China. On the west, we cover the west coast of Africa and the western fringes of Europe. This in itself gives tremendous impetus for us to support the logistics in and around the region and across the world. Thank you. Next slide, please. One could argue to say that, look, there are many ports in the region who have similar advantages, but I think what sets us apart is the vision of the leadership, the can-do attitude, the persistence of the people in various government entities, as well as on the aviation side, who try their level best to make the difference and set us apart. Next slide, please. Pre-COVID, this was our global footprint. Sorry, next slide, please. No, one back. No, you're going the other way around. Back, back, back. Yeah. Thank you. Pre-COVID, we used to operate to 157 destinations in 83 countries. Our sole business objective was to connect any 2 points on the planet via Dubai, and we succeeded in connecting 83 countries. Next slide, please. Building a network, buying aircrafts is relatively easy, but I think what makes an airline great and what makes a hub and a logistics hub great is operational excellence and the ability to have connectivity. Dubai has this unique advantage of having land, air, and rail all together, and the multimodal transportation helps logistics. Next slide, please. In Dubai, on the airline side, we have two hubs. One is Dubai International Airport, coded as DXB, and we have Dubai South, which is DWC, which is 77 kilometers away. Pre-COVID, these two airports were connected by 47 trucks, which would make about 100 trips a day, 24/7. Next slide, please. At Dubai International Airport, we have a cargo terminal which can handle about 2 million tons of cargo. From an Australian perspective, we tend to carry about 70% of perishables out of Australia. And these perishables, be it pharmaceuticals or meat or fruits and vegetables, get stored in the cool chain facilities at preset temperatures as needed by the commodities. Logistics and distribution go hand in hand, and we have made massive investments to support the logistics and to grow logistics in the region. Next slide, please. At Al Maktoum International Airport, Dubai South, which is coded as DWC, we have a cargo facility which can handle about 1.2 million tons of cargo. Again, in DWC, we also have cool chain facilities where we can set the units as well as the cool cells to predefined temperature ranges. Next slide, please. In the world of Emirates Sky Cargo, we believe pharmaceuticals and perishables are a very important vertical. We have made some massive investments to ensure that we protect the integrity of the cool chain. We have dedicated facilities to support pharmaceuticals as well as perishables. And these facilities are GDP certified for pharmaceuticals. We have made investments of about $100 million to ensure the integrity of cool chain. 35 years back, people thought a desert would not be the best place to support pharmaceutical movement. but we have made this happen. And today we carry about 25% of our total uplift is perishables. And that is the segment which seems to be growing rapidly. Next slide, please. On a timeline, the two cargo terminals which we have in Dubai, DXP and DWC, which is Dubai South, these are separated over a distance of about 77 kilometers. We move cargo between these two terminals within 5 hours. There are many airports in the world where cargo in the same airport gets moved between terminals in 10 to 12 hours. Whereas here in Dubai, we are able to move cargo over a distance of 77 kilometers in less than 5 hours. Next slide, please. Now, this is a schematic layout which which Mohsen also touched about. This shows that plant development helps logistics. You have the Jebel Ali port, you have the Emirates Sky Central, which is DWC, all nested in a economic free zone. There is a bonded corridor connecting the seaport to the airport. We have connectivity between DWC, which is Dubai South, to DXP, which is Dubai International Airport. We have roads here which are geofenced to ensure seamless transportation of cargo across modes of transportation. Cargo coming by ocean connecting air, cargo coming by land connecting air, and vice versa. Next slide, please. Again, Mohsen touched upon the master plan, and I don't need to repeat it. Can we move on? Emirates has got a long relationship with Australia. We started our operations into Australia in 1996. Our first flight came into Melbourne in 1996. Into Australia, out of Australia, we carry about 47,000 tons of cargo annually, and an equal amount into Australia. Australia generates about $80 million of revenue, Australian dollars of revenue for us. I've also mentioned the revenue figures and tonnages for UAE as a country. That is because a good percentage of UAE production gets re-exported, and we would tend to see that about 10 to 12% of the UAE production is basically coming in from Australia for re-exports. Next slide, please. Australia is connected to Dubai directly as well as through Southeast Asian ports like Singapore and Bangkok. Our Australasian network has got about 7 destinations. Via Dubai, we can also connect Americas. Next slide, please. And South America too. And about 29 points in Africa. And 13 destinations in Middle East. Most of our customers in Australia tend to use these 13 destinations extensively. Europe, we used to fly to about 39 destinations pre-COVID. We not only connected, and even now, we not only connect the primary cities, we also connect the secondary as well as the tertiary cities in Europe. Next slide, please. This is the Far East and the Australasian footprint. Next slide, please. Into Australia, pre-COVID, we used to have 91 flights a week from Dubai to the 5 points in Australia. And once we reach Australia, we could connect to about 5,000 flights per week domestic through our interline partners. Next slide, please. A snapshot of the facts and figures of our business volumes with Australia. We handle about 285 tons of imports and exports per day. out of which about 130 tons of exports from Australia every single day. Next slide, please. Melbourne, which we started in 1996, is our biggest operation. We tend to handle close to about 87 to 90 tons a day, and out of which 47 tons of exports every single day through the year. Next slide, please. For us, the most important commodities out of Melbourne, as expected, is meat, fruits and vegetables. Perishables constitute about 70% of the total uplift, and the top 5 destinations are Dubai, Amman, Kuwait, Singapore, and Bahrain. We are seeing increasing demand into these points, and we are happy to add more frequencies should you need. Likewise, we tend to see Auckland, Frankfurt, and Europe predominantly having a lot of imports into Melbourne. Next slide, please. Into Sydney, we do about 100 tons a day, out of which 35 tons per day is exports. Next slide, please. Main commodities again being perishables, and we also see e-commerce emerging, and we are seeing it grow. Again, Middle East GCC countries tend to play an important role here. Many customers are asking for additional capacity into these points. Likewise, Europe seems to be the biggest region exporting cargo into Australia. In addition to Melbourne and Sydney, we operate to Brisbane, Perth, and Adelaide. The figures which you are seeing currently are pre-COVID figures, but in a few slides, I'll explain to you what exactly are we doing during the COVID times. COVID times saw supply chain disruption, supply lanes getting broken, uncertainty, we had fall in demand, there was general lockdowns which disrupted transportation of passengers as well as cargo. Next slide, please. We, closer to February, we can go back to the previous, yeah, thank you. Closer to February, we saw a reduction and a fall in demand. And by end of March, we had to suspend our passenger operation due to restrictions imposed by various governments for passenger and cargo transportation. Within Emirates, we got together and we decided that it is extremely important that we ensure supply chain connectivity. We don't have supply lanes broken down. We wanted to ensure that the world is not isolated and there is a free movement of PPEs, perishables, and food security is enhanced, particularly in this region. We set about building up a cargo network purely utilizing our freighters, utilizing our passenger aircraft. We utilize, as I was mentioning, we are currently using about 83 to 85 passenger aircraft to serve 83 destinations. Last week, I made a presentation and this particular slide showed 81 destinations. Every day, we are adding new destinations. To many airlines, this would look like a final network blueprint, but for us, this is work in progress. Next slide, please. For us, Australia is a very important strategic partner. During the COVID times, one of the first countries in our network where we started resuming operations was Australia. Currently, we have about 10 flights a week to Melbourne, double daily to Sydney, 2 flights a week to Brisbane, and 2 flights a week to Perth. The slide says 1 flight a week, but we also tend to have ad hoc operations. Pre-COVID, we had about 91 flights a week to Australia, which gave us a lift of about 1,000 tons per week. Today, with the 30 odd departures which we have ex-Australia, we are close to around 850 tons of capacity every week. If there is one message which we would like to leave with our participants here is, from a capacity point of view, you should not be worried. As long as you have got business, let us know and we will work out a solution for you. Now, this is sorry, can we go back to the previous slide, please? Now, this is a slide which compares our pre-COVID network with our current network. And if this were to be a game of spot the 5 differences, I think it would be a very difficult game. Our aim here is basically to live up to our promise to stay connected during the good times and the bad times. On being the last speaker of this panel, on behalf of the panel, we look forward to having you in Dubai, and we would like to help you build your global journey. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ravi. For those who are based in Dubai in particular, we know that Emirates' operation will give all of us here that optimism about the future. And Emirates Sky Cargo is doing right now is quite amazing. It's all whether we can, when we can get back to our homes, but we are at home in Dubai for now. So, and I know you're incredibly busy, so thank you for your time. We are rather short for time, and there have been a couple of questions that have come in which we've dealt with along the way. Now, the one closing question I have, and Mohsen, if you're still online, there was a question asked about Dubai South, if you're able to activate your speaker.
Yeah.
Now, it's just, and it's an interesting one. It's about, really about the future.
Sure.
And the times that we're in now. And the question related to, you know, it may well have been a customer for someone in Dubai South and looking at, and I think this equally applies across the board, looking at the investments that not only the Dubai government has made into Dubai South, but individuals who are based there. And I think there's a few operators who have, you know, fears and concerns about the future and what commitment there is to the longevity of Dubai South. I know it's there, but I guess from someone from Dubai South to confirm that, that would be helpful.
I think to be honest, I think, I mean, the longevity is we are moving ahead. We're doing a lot of stuff. I think that maybe the question is what's happening on the airport development. Now, obviously, there's no doubt aviation has gone through sort of, you know, a challenge time with this COVID-19, and still, you know, we whatever was sort of opportunity available. I think my colleague Ravi mentioned that they did tackle that issue. Now, you got to understand that airport development is not something that comes overnight. It takes a long time. It requires a sort of a lot of funding. And it requires also a proper business case, and certainly the Dubai government will are very sort of you know, we do plan things a lot in time in advance. It's just making the right decision at the right time. Today,
I guess also one thing to add, I guess, for those listening is that whilst we might not see Emirates airline passenger operations move across in the near future, there are still staged approaches with general aviation. I know the MROs, which are based over in on the cargo side of Dubai Airport, are still intending to move across by the end of next year. So there is still that progress at Dubai South and the airport.
I think, Nick, you're right. I mean, there is a stages. So we started with sort of the freighters that make a lot of noise and that they couldn't be in the middle of the city. And we started with the sort of other freighters. We moved in other cargos, private jets, now the maintenance, where we started the flight academy that's operational at the moment. Emirates Sky Cargo was the first to move all their freighters. Yes, maybe with COVID, they went back to Dubai because that brought in efficiency. So I think the thing is about with Dubai, we're quite agile in responding to things. And our government has been very much supportive. Now, you know, it goes back to the question in 1985 when Jebel Ali port was sort of, you know, a free zone came in along, was a response that there was a port. How do we build it? So it's a matter of time. Yes, we might have a few speed bumps, but that's the challenging that everybody goes through. But we are still continuing to invest as Dubai South. So that's why I said, look out for us. We will be announcing soon new developments. We're going to be soon announcing sort of companies that are starting new to operate at the facility, and it didn't stop us. The reason is, particularly if I talk about logistics and the e-commerce, it's the two areas I think that people, yes, we have our doctors, our paramedics, all those guys did a great job with this sort of pandemic. But I think also we should not forget the logistics industry was also making sure that the PPEs were there. We're making sure that the food was supplied to the people's houses and the whole. So I think that's where also on the background there was opportunity. But within that, we're moving very much ahead. As we speak, we're also delivering a lot of our real estate projects. It was developed before, but we are delivering right now. Similarly with the Amar, who is a joint venture. So I think particularly in the airport, we're not just going to put our money into something that maybe, we're only going to put it as sort of when the right time comes. And today we're studying that. Some of the basic work are still being doing. And I think, inshallah, sooner or later we will be announcing sort of some of these dates. And I think having both the sort of two Emirates and Fly Dubai, we were in a very comfortable position that they're well managed, and they're sort of two airlines that have stood out always.
Thank you, Mohsen. That's helpful. For those who are here, I know we remain very, very optimistic about what the future of aviation in this sector and logistics in this country hold. Now we have run out of time. There will be a closing address in a moment. Before we move to that closing address, I just wanted to take this opportunity first to thank all of the distinguished speakers today, which we've been very privileged to have a lot of our stakeholders involved, and hopefully I mentioned everyone in here, but in particular the Australian Arab Chamber of Commerce and their assistance, the Australian Business Council of Dubai, Dubai FDI, Dubai Exports, DAVSA, JAVSA and Dubai South, and Emirates Sky Cargo. And before I move to the closing address, there will be, for those who are attendees, there will be a closing exit poll, which we'd be grateful if you could complete that. And moving now to the closing address is a message from the New South Wales Chair, National Board Member and Treasurer with the Australian Arab Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Mohammed Haj. So thank you everyone for your time today, and stay safe.
Thank you everyone for participating in today's webinar. Firstly, I want to say the Australian Arab Chamber of Commerce and Industry and also our business partner, the Australian Business Council Dubai, were delighted to host you in today's Dubai Advantage webinar. As we have heard from a number of our senior representatives, that Dubai is undoubtedly leading one of the best logistics facilitators in the world. Its location, both geographically and also strategically, has been a gateway to East and West for centuries. Its location also has been a trading route between Africa, Europe, and also Asia for centuries. Firstly, I'd like to thank the UAE Ambassador, His Excellency Abdullah Sambusi, for his contribution. I would also like to thank Dubai FDI CEO, His Excellency Fahad El Gawi, and the wider Dubai FDI team. A special thanks goes to His Excellency Mr. Saad Al-Awadi, the CEO of Dubai Exports, and also the senior representatives from Dubai South, Dubai Airport Free Zone, Emirates Sky Cargo, Jebel Ali Free Zone, and also Dubai Exports as well. Thank you all for your contributions. There were several objectives we wanted to achieve from today's webinar. The first was to raise the profile of Dubai in this important global market and demonstrate Dubai's interest in developing mutual beneficial business partnerships with Australian companies. We also want to engage the government, research organisations and Australian companies to advance trade opportunities and investment interests in Dubai. Among the immediate benefits from today's program gained by our participants and also our viewers was first-hand insights into Dubai's economy. We also saw, as part of Dubai's Industry Strategy 2030, the development of the logistics sector is seen as a strategically important goal for sustained long-term success of the national economy. We had guidance of how Australian businesses can take advantage of opportunities in Dubai. We wanted to provide a networking opportunity with key industries and also key participants, and we wanted to establish connections and relationships in doing so at the same time. As week 2 of this Dubai Advantage series comes to an end, as a Chamber of Commerce with our business partners, the Australian Business Council Dubai, Austrade, DFAT, and also Dubai FDI, the work has just begun. We must translate this wonderful webinar and this wonderful work into policies, programs, interpretations, and also visions, and we must get some results out of it. As with all such events, and this seminar has been an outstanding example, our minds have been flooded with a torrent of ideas, informations, statistics, and also visions. There is indeed plenty to reflect upon, and if this webinar in any way enhances our individual and collective contributions to meeting those key objectives I spoke about, then undoubtedly it can be judged as a success. AACCI's mission is to assist Australian companies that are looking to export and expand into the MENA region and beyond, to assist them with commercial intelligence, business matching, and networking opportunities. Our business partner, the Australian Business Council Dubai, has done a wonderful job and has a very highly sophisticated resources in Dubai to support the needs of Australian businesses looking to actually expand into Dubai as well. We want to thank you all for your contributions, and please feel free to reach out to one of our 5 offices in Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, Perth, and Adelaide for any further information. Please also feel free to reach out to the Australian Business Council Dubai, who do a wonderful job in assisting businesses and supporting them in growing into the Dubai and wider region as well. Thank you all, and good afternoon.